Welcome to the Ideagen Global Impact 2030 Summit, live here from Athens, Greece, the birthplace of democracy and so many other things. We're here live at ACS Athens, and at Ideagen, we convene global leaders and luminaries to help create awareness and impact toward achieving the global goals of the United Nations. Today, I'm honored to have this incredible global leader and luminary panel led by Tim Ananiadis. Tim, welcome.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a bit about yourself, why you're here, and then we'll just go through the panel.
Yes, I spent the better time of my life in the hospitality industry, in the leadership roles for Marriott, Starwood, and Hyatt. In Greece, I was in charge of the Hotel Grand Bretagne and also the area manager for Starwood for a long time. Now I have my own consulting company, and I'm also part of the board for LAMSA, the owning company of Hotel Grand Bretagne, and also, more importantly, on the board of ACS Athens, American Community Schools, and it's probably one of the most important and most rewarding experiences for me.
Thank you, Tim. Ioana, welcome.
Nice to be here, George. My name is Ioana Noula. I have an academic background in citizenship studies and youth rights. I've worked at the UCL Institute of Education, the London School of Economics, and other universities in the UK. Most recently, I've moved to the nonprofit sector. I founded the Internet Commission, an organization that advances the digital responsibility of online platforms. And I also work as an independent advisor on tech policy, youth rights, and innovation governance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Panagiotis, welcome.
Thank you very much, George. I think it's the fourth sequential year for me being here, and I'm very proud of it. And thank you very much for inviting me for 4 years in a row. So my name is Panagiotis Zikos. I'm an engineer. I've been working for Otis Elevator Company. I've been running Otis for Greece and Cyprus, the managing director for the area for the last 6 years, 17 years in the sector. At the same time, I'm the owner of a company dealing with information technology, telematics, and advanced technologies in the IoT industry. I'm very proud to be here, frankly, and I believe that the summit can have a huge impact on ESG strategies.
Elena, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Elena Saviolakis. I have been the executive director for the Daughters of Penelope for almost 18 years now. And the Daughters of Penelope is an international women's organization whose mission is to promote Hellenism, civic responsibility, education, philanthropy, and family and individual excellence.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for all you do. Maria.
Well,
No introduction yet.
I'm a farm girl. You know, I was born in a farm. And that's why I know how people eat and they should eat. And then I became a lobbyist. That's why I know the industry, you know, Nokia, and to name a few people. And then I became a chef. I never went to school to become a chef, but I teach in the biggest institutions around the world. And I want to change the world with just one healthy bite at a time.
Antonis, welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm Antonis Menegas. I'm the Executive Vice President of Energy of the Libra Group. We are a privately owned global business group with assets and operations in over 60 countries around the world, mainly in aerospace, maritime, renewable energy, hospitality, real estate, and some diversified investments. And also this is the business side of things, and we also have the Libra Philanthropy, 501c philanthropy organization with 10 very important social initiatives. And I'm very glad to contribute in this esteemed panel.
It is an esteemed panel, and in the interest of time, I want to make sure I'm able to ask you all these difficult and challenging global questions. I'd like to start. This is the Global Impact Summit, and for me personally and professionally, I've been in Washington, D.C. for 25 years. and worked for a few US presidents, I think it's important to understand that no one entity can do it on its own. Not a government, not a company, certainly not an individual. Each of you, I know, agree to this, but why are global partnerships so critically important to help achieve the global goals of the United Nations? This is to anyone.
Look, if I may start, since I finished. Look, I mean, the cliches, you know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you know, we are always looking for the 1 + 1 = 3. The sum being greater than its parts. On the business side, nothing is done in a vacuum in this world. I mean, there are always stakeholders, there's always impact. And the more you're mindful of developing situations that benefit all the stakeholders, the more you benefit at the end of the day. The more you give, the more you get. Nobody knows everything in this world. And it's something that we have, it's deeply embedded in our culture, and we always seek out to partner with people that might know some technology better than us, some local knowledge. And this is where I feel we bring value as well. In all of our businesses, we want to utilize the global network that we have developed to help us entering new sectors, new geographies, and also to have as much of a positive impact as we can to whatever we do.
You know, and Antonis, that's incredible perspective. I'd like to hear, you know, we've got hospitality. If any of you have ridden an elevator, I encourage you to take a look. You know, I now, you know, knowing Otis elevator, you look at, you know, when you get into the elevator, look at the bottom, the inscription of what it says. There is a difference. There is a difference on the elevators, but we've got elevator companies, we've got PhDs, we've got philanthropic organizations, and we have celebrities on this panel. And I'd like to take it a step further. So why, Maria? You're filming TV shows, you're doing all these things. Why are partnerships so important?
Because how can you film a TV show if you don't partner with some people? It's easy, the answer, okay? Mm-hmm. But also, you don't just film TV shows. You have to film it for the people as well. So it's all together. And I don't have to say more because Libra people, they say all the time, whatever I want to do. So they make my life easy. From Michael, you know, to all, I mean it. Between Libra and Lukumi, I have this, idols. Okay, that's what it is. If you cannot do anything alone, and that's right. How we succeed. You know, and we did. Of course, we on PBS. You know, it's not an easy thing, but and they gave us the platform. You need the platform and the people.
And I think you mentioned something that really, as I get older, I really think about a lot, which I think you all agree with, which is it's about people. You walk into the White House in the transition, and you're the first one there, one of the first ones there, and you realize without the people, even though there's an institution, what is it? And so it's about the people. And then you couple that with the partnerships, and you understand that there's a significant understanding that must take place, that it's about the people. Some people don't recognize that. They think that there's, you know, whatever company it is, you name the company, it's the company, but it's actually the people.
Exactly.
And the people are making it happen. And so you've seen a lot of instability across the world, most recently. Just last week, I would be remiss if I didn't mention what happened in the United States. I mean, it's a very challenging moment in time. We encountered something that we hope we never encounter again in the United States. So I wanted to recognize that because I would be remiss if I didn't, having worked in the White House for the former president. And I think there's a moment here in time where we need to understand that when we're talking about the global goals, it transcends politics. It's about the people. And I'd like to ask you all, as we pivot to sustainability, what does sustainability mean to you? Ioana?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that there are two ways to see sustainability, to approach sustainability. First and foremost, as the mainstream approach is the one that is about the world continuing to exist, hopefully to thrive. However, in my line of work, what I've learned is there's another key element that is the driver for sustainability that must be sustained, and that is trust. So you talked earlier about people, partnerships, and so on. In order to sustain this, we need to make sure that there is trust, and we cultivate this in relationships in the workplace, but also relationships with other actors. And again, the tech space has shown this, that trying to do the best, achieve excellence on your own with your tech expertise is rather impossible. That's why we're facing backlash, harms, and so on. And this is where we have identified the need for more disciplines and expertise to come in and help and make tech sustainable.
Yeah, I think you bring a good point up too about that ability to communicate, to disagree. Disagreement is actually good, but not dislike. I think there's a confusion between it, especially right now in the polarized United States and other places in the world. I think being able to challenge, here we are in Greece, where philosophy started, where people actually started to think, and here we are going backwards in some places with disagreements for various reasons. And so as we look at sustainability, as you mentioned, Antonis and Maria and everyone else on the panel, Greece is in some ways leading on some of these issues.
On everything.
Oh, Maria, on everything. That's amazing to say that. But And so as we look at the global goals again, I'd like to ask, what does it mean to your organization? Who would like to start? Elena.
I think to the Daughters of Penelope, it means the ability to be able to engage with the present and the future generations to come, especially because we're comprised of volunteers, but also just, the partner collaboration and reducing our carbon footprint and the commitment to a shared long-term vision. And, just piggybacking onto what you said about partnerships, the partnerships also achieve mutual respect, satisfaction, and just a more efficient use of everyone's time by pooling resources and sharing these diverse perspectives. So that's
incredible. And thank you for all you do. I know the philanthropy that the Daughters is doing is just phenomenal, incredible.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The global goals actually form kind of a blueprint for the strategy for every company, actually. So they define how a company operates in order to make sure that it provides the perfect environment for the people that work inside it and the people that take advantage of the services, their customers, let's say. But as you mentioned, we all live in the same society, in the same community. So making sure for a company that it uses the global goals for the best of its employees and its customers, it's a community perfection. So I believe that it should be the blueprint for every company, at least for Otis. It's the way we behave for many, many years, trying to at least focusing on 3 fundamental global goals, let's say. Reduce poverty. Reduce poverty in the sense that we need to make sure that all our employees inside the company they have what they need to have a very good life in order to continue providing meaningful services to our customers. Inclusion. We've gone through many years of change in inclusion, and we're trying to include everybody in the company. We don't care about the color, the religion, the sex, whatever this is. We care about if he's a good person for our internal and external society. And finally, the most important for us, because we've done a huge shift in the recent years regarding environment, we want to have the best environment for us and for our children and for our grandchildren, for everybody. I'm saying that because This was not a mentality a few years ago. People did not focus too much on the environment. It was taken for granted. Now things are changing inside Otis, and hopefully I see that in many other companies. But we need to make sure that this does not remain as something written on a paper and just teaching it, okay, we're doing that. We need to commit on that.
So not just talking about it, but actually doing it. And I agree with you. The global goals are a blueprint for companies, individuals, and organizations across the planet. And again, what I would like to say, and I say this a lot, is that what I find incredibly powerful about the global goals is that they were agreed to. Think about this for a moment. Take yourself to the floor of the United Nations for a moment. Juxtapose upon that everything that's happening in the world right now. And then say, we're going to have every single 193 member states agree and say, I agree. That's what the global goals are. So, including Greece and the United States of America are participatory in that. So despite all of our challenges and disagreements in the United States at the moment, we did agree to the global goals, and I think that's very important. I'd like to shift now to a topic that I find very, very important, and it comes up at every summit, and we'll be talking a lot about that here in Greece at this summit today, and that is future global leaders. This is a critical topic, and everyone I run into, from Washington to anywhere in the world, says, we have an issue, at least it's a perceived issue. And maybe other generations thought the same thing. Oh, the next generation, they're not going to get there. It's, we don't see leadership. But I'd like to ask you all, what is a piece of advice you would give? You're all accomplished leaders across the world. What is a piece of advice that you would give to future global leaders, the millions of people that will watch this on Ideagen TV? What's that advice that you would give from your own perspective? Tim, I'd like to start with you. You have so much advice.
Yeah, thank you. But I have to say that, well, yeah, okay. Sometimes I do give the advice that maybe it's too much. But anyway, the point is you're sitting actually in an environment that has over 62 nationalities, that our main goal is actually to make them global citizens, to prepare them to go into the society, first, through the higher education and then into their careers. And I can tell you that it's the goals, including inclusion, background, religious beliefs, all of that, it's a very difficult thing to accomplish in order for you to be able to have everybody together. And when we talk about partnership, that's where the partnership comes in, because you have the parents, you have the students, you have the faculty, that all of them have to work together. Otherwise, nothing gets accomplished. As far as the future, I think that the part that I see it here in the school, I see it in my own business, is technology. Technology, we depend too much on the technology at this point, to the point that we don't question it. And if you don't question technology, and if you don't question what you read from someone that posted whatever they wanted to post, that's a very dangerous area that we became accustomed to it, we became numb about it, and we don't question it. And I think what Ioana was saying is that her field is to put trust back into that technology.
I love what you said about that, and that's a very important statement you just made, because, and I look at it through the prism of, again, Washington. If you look at it politically, Republican, Democrats, independents in the United States, libertarians, you could live in your own world and just watch whatever you want or read whatever you want every day in agreement with what you believe it should be. And that goes against what we've been talking about, which is, let's have a conversation. Let me hear what your point is so that maybe I change my point of view, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, well, technology gives us the platforms, I should say, and that's another thing that it's important, that the platforms gave us the ability to be nasty, to say something that we would never say it in person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gives you that opportunity that, it creates all that animosity, creates all that divisiveness for that same reason. Because it's important, very seldom you will say the things that you can write either anonymously or even with a little
Exactly.
name.
And at no point in human history do we have what we have now.
No.
I mean, imagine, I think about, and what an incredible honor to be here at the American Community School in Athens as a U.S. trustee as well, the greatest honor that I have. But to think about, like you said, the number of the 60-plus nationalities that attend this school, to think about creating future global leaders right here at this school, to think about all of the things you talked about, Tim, which are so critically important, but then to think about social media, to think about all of the things we're talking about globally, TikTok, all the companies that are helping to spread information. Sometimes it's a help, sometimes it may not be. And so there's challenges there. We who have lived experiences have an obligation for the next generation to share what we've seen. It's not that we come from the dark ages. Like I joke with our son that during my conversations with Abraham Lincoln, we would talk about certain things. Now, clearly, and so it's sort of funny to think about it. But even having worked for George W. Bush in 2000 seems like 50 years ago. It seems like 100 years ago. Having lived through all of these moments in time, it's hard to think about what the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s were all about, and now to put this on us. What other perspectives do you all have on that? What is so important for future global leaders, Elena?
For me, it's we have actually to be united and to create all this, to be united with the others. 62 different, 62 you have here. I travel to other countries that I have 190 different kinds. So can you imagine how is that? So, but because I think one thing that unites us is the food. That's why I fight for that. Because food, you start in the morning, lunch, dinner, everyone. Even when you have a death in your house, you have food. Mm-hmm. So it is a language. And that's what we have to pay attention to that. And that's what I want to teach the new leaders. Not to see food, okay, it's fast food and go. To see food as a vehicle in your life.
You're using food as diplomacy, Maria.
That's right.
That's an amazing thing. And a plug for your
restaurant. It's not diplomacy, it's a real thing.
No, but it is diplomacy.
Well, it's diplomacy to show people.
That's right.
Well, don't forget I was a lobbyist. It doesn't come out from my
That's
blood.
right. That's right.
I think in addition to what Chef Loi is saying too is also just the ability to effectively communicate and motivate everyone in the organization or the business so that everyone's on board with the goals, but also to develop a self-awareness. So, know your limitations and your strengths as well.
Well, and we went back to this. These are the fundamentals that drive what I believe and what Ideagen believes in, I know ACS, is the ability to communicate is so fundamentally important. And part of it is you walk into a room sometimes and you see, or you go to a restaurant and you'll see an entire family on their devices, not talking to each other, or whatever it may be. You're going to stand out and you're going to go so far if you're able to communicate. That would be my lesson. What I tell our kids all the time is you got to be able to look someone in the eye, shake their hand, and communicate. Why? Because you're going to be 10 miles ahead of anyone else your age group and for the rest of your life, because it's about people. Because this amorphous, even AI, is developed by people. We're talking a lot about AI, and it's going to help with process and make things more efficient. But when it breaks down, who's going to fix it?
Yep.
It's going to be people. All of these things are driven by, it goes back to people in the end, and I think that's the lesson.
And they have to eat healthy.
And they have to be healthy and eat healthy. That's right. Thank you, Maria. That's very important. That's a very important piece to talk about. And so, I'd like to ask you all one of my favorite questions. We've asked literally thousands of people this question over the years on Ideagen TV, and it is, what is one key lesson you can share that has the potential to change the world? Let me start with Ioana.
Yes. Well, first of all, I wanted to say that you were speaking earlier, and I felt that you were reading from my notes, and I left my books unattended. But no, I'm glad we agree on the element of communication and the lesson that I've learned, and a lesson that has brought me in this space of innovation, which should be balanced with regulation and so on, is that we should be doing more listening. And again, the example of the family looking at their own devices and so on, it kind of negates or is going against the purpose of the Sustainable Development Goals project, which is to achieve also intergenerational justice. And to do so, we must be able, all generations, people from all walks of life as well, to be able to listen to the message rather than make assumptions. So coming from, expertise with working with children, that's where my research was. My biggest frustration is that kids have so many things to say, and yet we are not we don't have the mindset of listening and taking them into account. Instead, I would say we are responsible for them being in front of their devices, for them not listening and so on. We don't set the right example. And thus, I think that in the business world, in the tech world that I engage with and so on, it's important to create those spaces where people have voice. That is where they can, share their thoughts, where they can complain as well. And the spaces where we listen, take into account what is being said, make sense, turn noise into signals, data noise into signals. And then, of course, last but not least, is transforming these messages into solutions, repairing, offering remedies, and moving forward with the lessons from the past.
Anyone else want to follow up on that?
I would like to say something. Do you want? Sorry. No, I had the opportunity to lead actually two organizations. So Otis Elevator is a huge company. So a lot of mechanics, people dealing with elevator callbacks, maintenance, difficult job. At the same time, on the other part, I'm leading the software company. So there you have the software engineers, the ones who are creating the AI models. You can imagine them a bit crazy, a bit focused on a screen. So what I realized being a leader of these two companies for many years is that what makes somebody a good leader, not that I am a good leader, but what makes somebody a good leader is the power of empathy. Pretty much aligned with what Ioana mentioned, that you need to make sure that you can have an active listening, you have the ability to see the world, even the small world, because everybody has a different perception of the world, through the eyes, through the experiences, through the imperfections of the other people, especially the ones whom we are working with. Not leading, because leading is just a role. You are working with people in the same environment. You have to have the ability to understand their part of truth, their perspective. Because if you can do that, then you can work in a collective action, not just individually, not having many individuals working, doing their best, and hoping that eventually this will be parallelized to make a huge strength, but creating the environment that these individuals eventually, by doing their best job, they will be happy for it, and the organization, the small, the large, the community, will be going to the correct direction. This is for me sustainability, to have the ability to see that, okay, in the next year, in the next decade, we will still be here, being happy, doing what we are doing, which is going to change, of course, because things are changing.
Right.
That's good. I used to like, the elevators, but now I like their company now, the mentality. That's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm against elevators because I
Really?
said the first
Why?
thing, yes, I am. Because I
There's
said the
nothing
first thing
positive.
that to lose weight is cut the elevator. That's what you have to do. But don't worry. No, you have the best thing. And I like what you said.
Let's
Good.
take it private after.
Yeah, it's like I don't have to say anything else. I just say what I say to everyone, to young leaders. I say, give and never give up.
That's right. That's 100% right, Maria.
Yeah.
Tim, you had a comment as well.
No, it's okay. There's no silver bullet to a good leadership. However, I think with everything else, compassion. I think you need to be a compassionate leader. A lot of times that people look at as a weakness to a leader. That's actually the opposite, because it gives, it gives the opportunity for someone to do good, to be a good leader for that part. You need to listen. I think listening, it came out from everybody. And listen, not listen, because a lot of people listen, but they don't listen.
That's right.
And encourage conversation, because the majority of the people I dealt with throughout my career, they were afraid to engage into any kind of challenging conversation because they felt that they didn't want to deal with it. And as a leader, I think that's a very important thing, because it also encourages leadership and respect from the rest of, from the people that you're working with. So that's it.
Tim, that's incredible perspective. And I think that the lesson I learned was our chairman of our board for many years was former Congressman Louis Stokes. And Ideagen lives on. He's baked into, you all mentioned, empathy and ethos. He spent 30 years in the United States Congress. He was a very good friend to me and to my family. In fact, he even baptized our baby daughter. And he was co-founder of the Congressional Black Caucus in the United States. And one day I asked him, I said, so Lou, Congressman, Kumbara, I said, how did you last in the United States Congress for 30 years being such a nice guy? Because he was just a nice guy. And he became serious, and he said, George, never mistake being nice for being weak. And that's a lesson, because people think, especially younger folks when they're starting their career, they think that you have to be hard-nosed, charge ahead, step on others to try to get to where you're getting. And you really don't. And his lesson back also was work within the system to change the system. And I could go on and on with anecdotes around that, but it's remarkable to think about. We all literally stand on the shoulders of giants. That's how we are here today, able to talk to millions of people on Ideagen TV and beyond. And I'd like to ask you all for a final call to action. What would that be? Let me start with Antonis.
Well, I will continue with what has been discussed so far, and these are all very important messages. I mean, leadership counts very much, and we see it today in our world. And a great leader's responsibility is to create new leaders. So we need to empower people. And I'm very lucky to have been benefited from a culture of empowerment. We need to place trust on people. There's a huge untapped human potential that we can that will get this world moving forward. Kindness is a sign of strength, as you said. I mean, it's we all need to, we meaning us that we lead teams, we need to have these characteristics that everyone said: empathy, active listening, placing trust, empowering people, and this way you'll see, literal miracles happening. I truly believe that, and I've seen how people can rise, underdogs, people that you didn't think could reach a stage if they weren't given an opportunity. I mean, we need to be, an inclusive community. We need to provide opportunities to people that the society hasn't given them, haven't granted them. As you said, we have all benefited from it to be on this stage, and it's our responsibility to give back as well.
Thank you, Antonis. Well said. Maria.
So again, I'm going to speak about food. So we can grow food, without wasting food. We have to think about the environment, and we have to think about the environment in the future. And that's what we have to leave behind for our children. Please don't make waste food. Please.
Thank you, Maria.
Or you can give it to us, the food waste, to create energy and
You never asked me that. So
biofertilizers.
we can make some money for Lukumi, Nick.
Great, Elena.
In addition to what my fellow panelists have said, I think, to just lead with humility and inclusive mindset. And of course, as Tim said, leading with compassion, because compassion transforms communities. But be strategic and engage in global collaboration.
That's right. That's right. Well said. Thank you, Elena. Panagiotis.
Very good statements. I don't have many things to add, so I will make it a very simple statement. I would like just to mention, do not forget. Don't forget that a few years ago we had COVID. In the beginning, everybody thought it would be the end of humanity. It made us, the full humanity, work in a collective way to fight against COVID, find a way to survive. Okay, now we know that COVID, for many people, is just a normal flu, but back then, we didn't know that. We were closed in our houses, not opening to everybody, so it was a difficult era. But it seems that we forget easily. Now we're again back to the same things. Political crisis, wars, people starving. So eventually we tend to forget what the history has taught us. And I'm not referring to the Second World War, that's almost ancient history for most of us. We have not lived it. But we do not even keep the records of the recent history eventually. So that's why I mentioned previously sustainability, the global goals, all these good things should be in the leader's mindset and not the top line of a paper just to make sure that we are doing that and we are good leaders. It's a way of living. Do not forget, live the future, live the past, schedule the future based on the recent history's lessons. That's my only advice.
It's great advice. Don't forget.
Yeah, well, my piece of wisdom is pause. And I say that because, first of all, we spoke about the value of listening. And in order to listen, in order to absorb a message, you need to pause. And of course, I'm influenced by my recent experiences. And what we say in the tech sector is that we are facing our seatbelt moment. So drawing parallels with the automobile industry, it was a big battle from the side of government and regulators to impose the seatbelt, to mainstream the seatbelt, because it was interfering with aesthetics and whatever we were considering to be good at the time. Right now, we are fascinated by the developments of technology, everything new, everything shiny and potentially useful. But in order to maximize this incredible potential, we need to take a step back, make a little bit of peace with friction, and that not everything, not all technologies or not all aspects of our life or governance of our organization will be seamless. It doesn't hurt. Just pause a little bit.
Pause. That's a good one. I like that. That's great. And the final call to action from the president of the board of ACS Athens, Tim Ananiadis.
First of all, I think everything is well said, so there is no reason for me to add anything. But what I wanted to say, George, is that I've had the privilege to be in a few of your panels, and I think there is a common denominator in that panels that you've put together, and the subsequent panels, they will see them as they come in now, that the discussion is all about the individuals and not necessarily something that they know that they want to share an experience. It does revolve around leadership. However, it gives opportunity, and I've seen a lot of your panels, it gives opportunity to people to talk about themselves and to talk about, share their own experiences rather than an experience related to technology or knowledge in terms of their field. And that's very important because that format doesn't happen all the time. It's different, and thank you very much for it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this panel. Global Leaders and Luminaries, Ideagen Global Impact 2030 Summit here live in Athens. Thank you so very much.